I miss Ben.
Sorry about that, guys.
You're now rocking with TDF Everything. Spoiled Rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome and welcome back, everybody. I'm Daniel, and this is a very special episode of Spoiled Rotten. I've got Petula and Andrew here from, the Geek Heart Network, but their podcast that I do like to be on and listen to, which is Back Issue Bloodbath. I guess I did that backwards. I should have said your name and then how much I enjoy it and being on it. But the information's out there now, so thank you very much for joining, guys.
Hey, well, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Always a good time.
Yes, excellent. Glad to hear it. This episode, who knows at this time, this is coming out some point in October. Like, who knows if there's going to be any talk of this between now and then, but since the MCU is has the X-Men and seems to be rolling out, I thought it would be a fun episode to fan cast the characters, and I'm just using the characters that I remember being prominent in X-Men 97 because it felt like that would be fresh in people's minds, and they can be mad or be like, yeah, that was a good choice based on who we cast in these. How do we want to do this? Does anyone want to? We're gonna just go from the list that I did, or I can pick someone and they can just pick a character at random. I don't know.
Well, you know what? I think probably maybe going.
Oh, here we go.
I could pick
It's a
at random
surprise.
from my deck of cards. It doesn't have the full list here, but it has some of the
Yes.
main ones.
That is the deck of cards that you got at the special screening at Toronto Comic Con, correct?
Yeah, the
Okay.
X-Men 97 cards.
Okay.
Or if
I'm
you sort
in.
of stick the back together, it looks like a set of VHS tapes.
There you go.
Yeah,
You go.
so I can do this for like the top characters,
Okay.
and then we can do who's left.
Sort out whatever's left.
And
Yeah.
I will say here, out of the 16 names that you sent to us as a list, I only got about 13.
That's fair.
There's a couple that I just couldn't cast.
I was
and
almost
so-
there, and then I just kept thinking about it, and I'm like, here we go, and I'll have to push some things comic history wise to make it make sense, but
Sure.
I tried to fit them all in.
Okay, I will
Okay.
say for my list though, because again, the other thing is that you brought us both on here. Petula fan casting is something that it's like breathing for her.
Yeah.
She'll come to me with like 6 different ideas for casting on a certain character. Whereas I myself, I'm very much like when casting comes out, I go, oh, that's kind of cool. But I never think about it beforehand. So this is like Petula's gonna come at you with like a really grand like strategy. I'm sure she is. She's got a spreadsheet, she got it all planned. Whereas I myself, this took days.
No. This was hard because this isn't like when we're talking about like one issue of a comic, like if we're talking about just life, death, or something
Mhm.
where I'm just thinking about a couple of characters and I'm thinking about the whole team. I start to get into like age ranges, other
Yeah.
things. It's so for some, it was easier than others. Like once you do a certain thing
You
for
get
like
locked in.
Gina Scott, then like I mean, you could go full on Rodgers and Hammerstein like Cinderella casting, and Victor Garber and Whoopi Goldberg are
Yeah.
like the parents of like
It's true.
it doesn't matter. So for some, I was like, I want to do that, but then I wanted to have some things hang together. There's a few people that are probably outliers, probably on age.
Mhm.
Right.
Maybe we'll get into it. We'll
That-
get into
that
it.
is what I
keeping
was
it
trying
in
to-
the age ranges, and also like thinking about like, well, who's this person as an actor, but who's this person when it comes to other, touch points on identity.
Mhm.
But then also on top of this,
Good point, actually. Very good.
I
point.
also, for a couple of these people, had to go and double check to make sure there wasn't any like shit happening in their lives that people would go,
See,
I
didn't do
fucking
that.
hate that person.
We don't want to put ourselves in a King situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I did. I almost did, and then I removed the person. Not because anything has been substantiated, just because I heard rumors around the Kang stuff that I was like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I should stay away from this person too, because people seem to be not happy about that person either. So that was but I feel like all three of us took days to do this because I feel like I sent out the email, and when you guys said yes, then I was like, oh shit, now I gotta actually figure this out.
No, this was a nightmare, a little literal nightmare.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, I'm glad
Yeah.
that we can process this together then.
We'll
All
get
right.
through it.
So I'm gonna pick at random. I'm not
Okay.
looking. And our first one is, oh, this was one of the tough ones. Morph.
Morph.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. See, for me, I'm just gonna go out there right first to say Morph is one of the characters who I did not cast
Fair
because
enough.
I personally believe that if you're gonna do this, you're gonna want to look at an unknown for this role. You're gonna want to go look at a bunch of non-binary comedians out there
Hmm.
and find the one that would work best in the role. Because right now there isn't a large plethora of famous non-binary people that fits this specific type of role.
I am okay with that because I almost did the same thing. I'm not saying I'm better or worse. I was like, wait, should I have put Morph on here? But then
For the record, he thinks he's better than me. We'll move
okay.
on. All right.
I'm glad I didn't have to say it out loud.
Yeah, you
I
got it
threw it
out of the
out
way.
there,
There you
alley
go.
oop type style. Um, Petula, did you want to go?
I'm gonna give you my I have two picks for this one.
Hmm.
Under Andrew's kind of like non-binary community. She's not really non-binary. At least I don't think she is. She's just, you know, very I'm a lesbian with short hair and I'm not gonna bother to, you know. Yeah. sh- Her name, she's a comedian, Irene too.
Okay.
You've maybe seen her on the socials, just like very kind of wry, the haircut you imagine for a short uh Asian lesbian. I think she's lesbian. I don't know, she's non-binary. But the one that I think is more likely to be the kind of casting they may do is Troy Sivan.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I know who Troy is. Um, yeah, I think like both of you, I was like, who is non-binary, but I feel like is a strong actor, and I came down to Vico Ortiz, who is they are in Our Flag Means Death. They were also in Sex Lives of College Girls. I can't even remember
Oh,
how
I
to say
like
that.
that show. Yeah.
And they were in. I think they were in this last season of Umbrella Academy, but I can't be sure. I should have looked it up, but they
Okay.
looked like it was them. But Vico Ortiz, um, I believe she plays, or sorry, they play non-binary on Our Flag Means Death as well, and they play a character that dresses up in different things. Not that that is a prerequisite for Morph, but I saw that they were able to put on different personas in that show, so I thought it might help for this role as well.
Right, right.
And like my main criteria when I was thinking about that is like who could flirt with Wolverine
Mm-hmm.
when he's in a bad mood and make it out alive. So I think that's yeah.
I was also, yeah, it's kind of what Andrew said, like identity of this actor, but also acting chops, and
There you go.
I might have missed the mark there because I feel like Troy Sivan is someone that could flirt and everyone would go with it. But I do like Vico Ortiz a lot.
But also to let the listeners in on something is that the two of you are both people that I talk to who you'll tell me an actor's name, you'll go on about that. I'll be like, who the hell is that? And they'll be like, they were in this. I'm like, oh, okay. So there's a lot of times where it's like, until you guys say what it is, I'm like, oh, okay, that's them. All right, got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, for some of these, I had to like save the IMDb links as I was coming up with them.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, yeah.
Totally.
Okay, so next one,
Yeah.
next random choice. All right, Rogue, another
Okay.
tough one. This was
Yeah.
just tough because like iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I know Petula, it's like probably one of your top two favorite X-Men, right?
yeah, yeah.
Rogue is up there for me too. So I changed out a lot of names on this.
Okay.
But Andrew, you can go. You can go first.
You want me to go first? Okay.
Yeah.
So this one again, so like for the main core of the team, I was trying to keep it between like 31 and then 21 in that
Mhm.
area. There's like certain members that I went specifically out of that age range, but for the most part, I tried to keep it in there. And I looked at a bunch of different actors. And I ended up going with an English actor because, well, English actors usually able to pull off the Southern accent.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with Olivia Cook.
Okay, I like Olivia Cook.
Okay.
I've
Yeah,
been
because I thought,
watching her on House of Dragon.
yeah, and she was great in like probably one of my favorite performances by her was me and Earl in The Dying Girl back in 2015.
Yep.
Um, she's somebody that I've seen in a bunch of different things that hasn't had a chance to really. She plays nuance well, and I probably could turn things up in this one and probably pull off an interesting performance.
I'm down. Petula.
I went a little younger, and again, this is where I went into like a whole recasting half of my team one night, and I had two or three other choices. At one point, I was like, "There's too many Canadians," which is a weird thing that doesn't happen. It was sort of like the new Australians when I was casting. So I ended on of like the three rogues I had, Amber Midthunder.
Okay.
Oh, Hammer
Yeah.
Thunder. Okay.
From, I mean, Prey, one of my favorite
Yeah.
movies in recent years. I think I'd just like to see her more stuff. She's already sort of under that, all-encompassing uh Disney family of properties and companies they own, and hasn't really gotten to do any as much sort of high profile stuff as I would have liked after Prey. So
Yeah. I mean, the
oh
first thing I saw her in was X-Men related because she was in Legion,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
right,
I
yeah,
right,
feel like
right.
she should definitely be in more stuff as like a lead.
yeah.
Um, I'm gonna be honest, I like both of yours way better than mine. Because I got really stuck at first on Katie O'Brien, even though she's already in Ant-Man 4. I got really
Mhm.
stuck on that, and then I went with Melissa Barrera from like the Scream. Well,
Oh
she just
yeah,
left
okay.
Scream.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Oh,
her.
okay. Yeah,
And
yeah,
she was
yeah.
in
The Heights.
what's the like the vampire ballerina? Is that called? That's not called Annabelle. What is? I don't even remember what that's called. Vampire ballerina though.
Oh,
That
the one that was the team that made the last two Scream
yes,
movies made that
yeah.
one. Yeah, yeah. I can't remember the name of it now, but we covered it on the show. Yeah.
um, but yeah, I for some reason like the strength she shows. I don't know if she could do a southern accent. I'm just hoping that she could swing it because I do think the southern accent is like key here. But
Right, right.
um, for some reason, that's what I landed on. I was like, I just
Cool.
like her vibe.
Yeah, that's why my original choice, while Canadian, I thought could do it. First of all, we know the voice of Rogue is also Canadian.
Also
Yes.
Canadian, yeah.
But and she's a little bit younger. It's Maisie Stella. You may have never heard of this child.
Oh.
She was the younger sister in the family in the television show Nashville, that it was like,
Oh,
singing
okay.
sisters. Maisie and Lennon Stella are the two sisters. And also she's in a movie that I think that was just released at the most recent Sundance with Aubrey Plaza, playing a younger version of Aubrey Plaza called My Old Ass. So
Oh,
you'll
okay.
probably know her soon, maybe, if that
Right.
kind of breaks in an indie way. But even though she's Canadian, because she played like a, a country music singing child,
Mm.
I figured she could maybe swing that. So she was like my close backup, like my number
This
two.
picture of
Yeah.
her really makes me be like, yeah, that's Rogue vibes.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
okay. As I said, I like both of yours way more than mine, but I still feel like there's something to mine.
You know, there's something to yours, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Another random card pick.
Let's go for it.
I love the chaos of this. Wolverine.
All right.
Wolverine. Okay, I'm gonna go on a cop out here
Yeah.
because it's been said quite a bit, but I actually do want to see Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine.
Okay.
Listen.
He's 5'5".
Yes.
We know he can get cut. I'm pretty sure if he goes on the Jackman diet, he can get the bulk.
Yeah,
So
he
he's a
definitely could
good
do it.
actor. Yeah, I think he could pull it off.
If he could play a character with guns taped nailed to his hands, he can surely deal with the
Or
claws.
even like
Yeah.
that one movie where with the horns,
Yes.
where he's
Yeah.
like, "Goddamn right, they're horns." Kind of sounded like he was trying to do Canadian there. Yeah.
Petula.
Um, I went around a lot on this, and while he's sort of on the top, it's weird to say on the top edge of like the age range. I was trying to go younger just because we know
got to go for a while.
As we've heard many times in Wolverine, till you're 90.
Yeah.
Or not Wolverine and Deadpool. Joe Dempsey,
Okay.
from you may know him as Row 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 Your Boat from Game of Thrones or Original Skins. And
I know him from Skins, and I saw him, but I was a big fan of him in Skins.
yeah, yeah. But we know he could get he can at least do early levels of Wolverine shirtless because when he and Arya Stark reunite at Winterfell and he's working that forge, all kind of reminiscent of a greased up Hugh Jackman working that dragon glass. Very much, yes. I was like, and he's charming. He's not as tall as Hugh Jackman. He's not as short as kind of Daniel Radcliffe, but has that kind of body type. Looks like he always has stubble. I very
Yeah,
rarely seen him clean shaven. So yeah.
I like that. I can't. Well, I heard this from someone else, and I was like, yeah, I see the vision. Jared Kesso from Shoresy. Well,
That's
my
number
I
two.
watched Shoresy,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I know
I
people
really
know him from
wanted a
Letterkenny.
Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just mostly because I've only watched Shoresy. I feel like he could do it. You'd have to change the voice, obviously, but I think he visually could get it done, and I do think he's a genuinely good actor. So
Yeah.
but I can't take credit for thinking of that on my own. It's a casting I saw that made the most sense to me, from this YouTuber Nando Loves Movies.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Actually, I think I did see that video as well when it came out. Yeah.
Honestly, if Tim Rozon was like 10 years younger, that would have been like hands down, no question.
No, I think if Tim Rozon was 10 years younger, I'd probably give him more the Gambit role.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. Let's hope Gambit's next.
Actually, you know what? Let's do Gambit next. He's the one card I don't have in this pack
Okay.
anymore because the woman who works at the wine rack underneath me, Gambit's her favorite character. She has a Gambit tattoo on her calf. And when X-Men 97 was still airing, she was a couple episodes behind. And I had just watched Remember It. And she was saying how her and her partner had to catch up. They were 2 episodes behind.
Oh,
And she was so
jeez.
excited and she loves Gambit so much. And I was just like, here's this card.
Yeah, that's very nice of you.
Well, I will say, because of the age range that I had put on myself, I do not have an actual casting for Gambit.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. Petula?
My Gambit is, and again, I was thinking more, I want just like a really hot young couple. So, I've got my Amber for my Rogue. So, and I don't know if any of you have watched the show. This Summer I Turned Pretty.
I know of it. I haven't
It's
watched
the
it.
younger brother who arguably is even prettier than the woman that the show's named for. His name is Gavin Castellano. I think he's from Texas, but he just has charisma out the wazoo. So this is like a younger kind of pairing for them, but I think he could pull it off. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I went with Charles Melton for
Ooh,
Gambit.
yes. Oh my God, he'd actually be great with my Rogue.
Yes, I do think that as well.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's from May December. He was on Riverdale for a bit or not. I don't remember. I think he was. I can't remember if he replaced or was replaced.
Yeah, him and Butler
yeah.
have yeah.
But yeah, I think he's top of mind for people now because of May December. But I always was like, hey, that's a pretty guy, and I think a lot of people have said Austin Butler, but I feel like that would have thrown off my team dynamics if there was that strong of a guy. I don't mean that in terms of acting style,
You
but
mean
I just
presence?
feel like pulling
Yeah.
focus like that. I didn't think that would work, and I think that Charles Melton does the job of being the hot guy and he's shown that he can act as well.
There you go.
Yeah, he's really good at sort of looming in a corner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is kind of a gambit move. Just sort of, I could imagine him just playing with his cards.
I
And I
wonder if
just
that's
assume
on
he
his
could do it.
resume. It's like
Yeah.
special talents can loom in a
Looms.
corner real well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just assuming that because he is half white, people will believe that that half was Cajun.
Yeah, why
Sure.
not? All right. Next pick. Cyclops.
Okay. All right. So thinking about the comics, thinking about the way he's been cast in films. In the comics, up to I'd say probably the early 90s, there was a particular look and feel to Cyclops that after Jim Lee drew him, that went away. Because of course, Jim Lee drew everybody like they were a brick shit house. And like he has this barrel chest and he looks like a matinee idol. But before that, he was always drawn kind of slender, kind of, kind of you're not 100% sure about him type guy. And I feel like the casting in the movies has always had that contradiction because the character's been written that way for the movies, where it's like you're not sure about that character, you don't 100% see how it's going, but they've always gone with like a look at this pretty boy type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to like put like a meld between the two, where it's like get a little bit of that not sure about this guy type look, but also at the same time, people would think he looks all right, but not like brick shithouse.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with Dylan Minnette.
Oh, okay, I do know that guy.
Yeah, from
Okay.
13 Reasons
Yes.
Why.
Yeah. A very popular internet boyfriend for the youngs. Yeah.
Yes, I do remember him. I like that. I feel like that works for the younger skewing.
Yeah.
Well, he looks younger. I don't actually.
He's
know.
he's 27.
Okay,
but yeah.
there we go. Petula?
I went for more of your Jim Lee style. And then this ended up dictating my cable, obviously.
Yeah.
Alexander Ludwig.
Okay.
Another Canadian. I ended up with so many Canadians when I was
You
looking.
did
I
warn us
didn't
about
even.
that.
It's like I couldn't get a Canadian Wolverine, but everybody else. So yeah, you may know him as well. I mean, a lot of people probably first saw him as Kato in the Hunger Games, but also Bjorn in Vikings and Dorn in Bad Boys.
I was gonna
Just
say he's
yeah,
killing it in the last two Bad Boy movies.
yeah, but sort of like your beefy bro, but that has some kind of depth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Very
recognize him now. He was
very
also on,
central casting quarterback. Like
he was on Heels as well. That's where I saw him.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yes,
Stephen Amell show.
I'm remembering the posters now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they were remaking Remember the Titans, let's say 5 years ago, he definitely would have been in that cast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get that creative here. I went with who's like a cool it guy right now, and I went Glenn Powell. Because I've liked him since Hidden Figures. I don't know what he did in that movie that made me be like, hey, I like this guy, but I like him. And
well, he was nice to the black ladies at work.
I think that was probably I was probably
There
like,
you go.
why is he so nice? Good for him.
Yeah.
In a way that it didn't work for Kevin Costner. I was just like, no, Glenn Powell, he's the nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he says he's not really into superheroes, but he did say he would go out for Batman. But I feel like Cyclops would be another good option for him. Skewing closer to the more
Almost
involved version in X-Men 97 and not like we've seen in the movies.
Yeah, a little more on the charismatic side and less of the annoying kid that the teacher leaves in charge.
Like exactly. I feel like a little too likable to be Cyclops, in my opinion.
I think why I picked him, maybe I just had Twisters on the brain, which is probably where I got Katie O'Brien from, is that I liked the needle he was threading of you think something about him because of how he looks, but the movie didn't fully explore it, but he was more interesting than people were letting on initially just from his looks. I think and also he was nice to black women in figures. So there's
And
that.
hey, Hitman was one of my favorite films at last year's TIFF. So
Yeah,
there
and
you go.
it's in the top 2 for me this year. I only got to see it
Pretty
this
good.
year.
Well, yeah, because it's good that you got to see it this year. Because in Canada, I don't. How long is it on Netflix yet in
It's
Canada?
next week. Or,
Next week. Like such a
well, the
big gap
22nd.
between
So
American
yeah,
Netflix and Canadian
yeah.
on that one. All
Don't know
righty.
what they were doing there.
Don't know what they were doing.
All right, I'm gonna go. For me personally, before I flip this over, my Professor X and my Magneto, I kind of need them together to explain the why.
Okay.
Okay.
If they come up, then we will
Yeah,
do
we
them
can do
together.
them together. Yeah.
Okay. Well, here he is,
Oh, there we go,
Magneto.
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 Yeah.
Andrew.
Well, I think if she's gonna do them together, she
Yeah,
should go first.
oh, okay, I'll do mine
Oh no,
together.
that's fair. That's fair. That
All
is
right,
And
fair.
then
so
I'll do mine, but she seems to have like a specific reason to do them together, so she
Yeah.
should go first.
So I really struggled with this because at first I was trying to think, okay, so let's give me sort of modern day, um, like alternate daddy, basically. So who isn't Pedro, but who's sort of coming up behind him, scooping up the rest of the daddy roles? But really, he's honestly doing them all. So he's really got like a monopoly on the daddy
Yes.
space. So then I was more thinking about the relationship between the two of them, the flirtatiousness, the animosity. Either or both of them need to have some level of menace, but also that kind of cult leader. I would follow you, even though this feels like a bad idea because you've either made a good case or I'm very morally gray. So this was like a bolt of lightning, and it came, I'd say, partially from a recently a departed close friend who loves movies, loves actors, and turned me on to like the weirdest little. It was like I don't know if it was a YouTube show, but you can find the episodes on YouTube now. It was a wine show hosted by Matthew Good and Matthew Reese.
Mm.
So I have Matthew Reese as my Professor X and Matthew Good as my Magneto. And they call each other Goody and Reese, and they basically just drink the most expensive wines and have like an amazing time. But we know both of these actors can play like just sort of charming cad, but also kind of like villain or just bursts of violence.
Yeah.
So
Is
I
Matthew
felt like
Reese the guy
Matthew Reese is
from
the
the
American.
Americans?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Matthew Good is taller, but
Ozymandias.
they're not
Yeah.
they're not that.
Okay, it's really funny because you have Matthew Good as your Magneto. I have
Yeah.
Matthew Good as my Professor X.
He's a great Professor X.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I again, because with the whole idea of keeping the most of the core X-Men between 20 and 30, I was like, I want to look at somebody in their mid 40s for both Xavier and Magneto, again, for the longevity purposes. And Matthew Good just really seemed, because again, like Xavier, he's got a lot going on. There's parts of his thought process that are kind of dark. There are parts of him that are kind of like, for someone who can read other people's minds, he's very gilded on what he puts out there.
Mhm.
And like Matthew Good proves that he could do all of that in Watchmen, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Mhm.
So I thought he'd be perfect for that. My Magneto is really, this is my weird outsider pick, but I thought he hasn't done anything in live action comic book stuff yet. And he's into that sort of stuff. So I think he'd be good at it. And B, he can do the grandiose kind of, that Magneto has to have for grandstanding, but then also can do a bit more subtle acting as well. Plus, his facial features are almost like, I'd like to say they come at you like knives, and that's Sam Witwer. His cheeks
Okay.
are like sharp. They're like they could cut glass. And I thought, yeah, I'd really like to see him pull off Magneto.
I like these choices. I especially like that Matthew Good got looks from both of you. Like, I've been thinking about like, hey, he was really good in Watchmen. Like, is he just not? And I guess he was just in that vampire ballerina movie that I can't remember the name.
Yeah. I'm gonna look it up because it's bothering me now.
Because I keep wanting to say Annabelle. Is it Abigail?
I think it might be called Abigail. Yeah.
Okay.
Now that you say it, I think that's it. Let me try here.
Because I'm like James Wan does the Annabelle stuff. It's not that. I guess I should talk during this habit.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, I'm gonna do my Magneto first.
It is Abigail.
Okay, great.
There we go.
Great. Um, so for my Magneto, I got it in my head. I know people don't like this idea, but I did get it in my head that a thing that really worked for Magneto for general audiences when they saw it in the movies was obviously the in of being a Holocaust survivor, and that it might be good to explore a different genocide that's a bit more current just for the age thing. So I took a look at Rwanda and I thought, what about Coleman Domingo? The problem is he just got cast as Green Goblin in the cartoon. So it's not going to stop me because that cartoon can't possibly be connected.
But also, it's a cartoon.
Yeah, it's a cartoon. Well, because then that moved him off of another casting I had him on because they were like, well, they're using his voice for this. So I want to use his presence. I think he's a great actor. He shows a lot of range, and I think you need that for Magneto for him to be able to play a bunch of different beats. So yeah, I went with Coleman Domingo, which put me in a spot for Charles because then I have to kind of meet that age range. I like this actor. I don't know how he'll look bald, but I went with Daniel Craig as Professor X for my Coleman Domingo Magneto. I know he was supposed to be Thor's brother or something, but it didn't happen. So I'm like, hey, we'll bring him on into the X-Men. Let him be Professor X.
There you go. Yeah. I can see it. I can see
I like it. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Jubilee.
This was by far the hardest for me.
See, this one was kind of easy for me because there's somebody that kind of jumped out to me right away.
Okay.
And that is Elizabeth Yu. She plays Azula, the Fire Lord's daughter in Avatar: The Last Airbender. And there's just something about her, like it's a totally different character from Jubilee in that show, but I just felt like she had the fire. And then I saw a bunch of stuff of her in real life, and it's like
she's adorable.
She's adorable. Yeah, her boyfriend is the kid from Stranger Things, and the two of them just sing musical theater all the time. And it's like
Elizabeth Yu is okay, got it.
And I was like, yeah, no, I think she could pull off the both the energy and the fire of Jubilee.
Good, and she's probably actually young versus.
She's 21 years old. Yeah.
Good.
She was my initial number one pick, and then I was going through the Avatar list, and there's like a even like a much younger actress, Talia Tran, who plays Mai in a couple episodes of Avatar, and just when I saw her face, it just gave me like this. If we go much younger, and again, my whole cast ended up being younger than some of my original picks. I thought she would be good. I actually even went even younger. I was like trying to look up the actress who played the younger version of the little sister in Shang-Chi, but she's like still a literal child.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was sort of going for like a little girl who could maybe kill someone, but like seems also life of the party. But yeah, so I landed on this actress. I've not even seen her anything else except for Avatar, but I liked her vibe. But honestly, your pick, Andrew, makes more sense.
I like it. I went with Lukita Maxwell. I don't even know if that's how you say her name, but she plays the daughter in Shrinking. She plays like
she's great.
Daughter.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she's like 21 or 22.
Yeah.
I just had a hard time being like,
that's great. Yeah.
Who's someone that's like fun and young enough without me being like looking up like who are young Asian actresses?
Yeah. My search history got very problematic during this exercise. Also, she could hold her own with Harrison Ford. So
yes,
true.
That was a big thing. Okay, no, she's not 21. She's like 23.
That's still pretty. That's still, 23
so
can play
like
16 in
in a CW.
She's playing a high schooler in her show currently, so I feel like
exactly.
it works.
All right. No, I like all of those. All right. Next one in the cards, and then we're gonna run out of cards soon. This was a tough one for me. Storm.
Ooh, yeah, Storm. Now
Yeah.
it's funny. It's funny that we got Storm right now because you just brought up shrinking. My pick for Storm,
Oh,
because I wanted to go a
yeah.
bit like most of the characters I said I was keeping in between 20 and 30. But Wolverine, of course, you want to do older, so I went 35 there. And so I wanted to also go a bit older, like 35-ish with Storm. So I went with Jessica Williams
Perfect.
because also on top of that, she's 6 feet tall, which is
Yes.
also the height that Storm is supposed to be. So, and it would work because now Wolverine would be like
He
a
would
whole
look
7 inches
short.
shorter than her then. Yeah.
No, and she is a Harry Potter fan. So like this is all coming together nicely.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly. She was in the Fantastic Beast movies. So there you go.
Petula.
I this one was probably one of my hardest just because I love this character so
Yes.
much. And also for the culture, as much as I love your pick, Andrew, I had to go kind of like a bit reverse colorist on this. Like I was going through picks and it was very much either not tall enough, not dark enough, not tall, not dark
Ah,
enough. And this was a hard one. Uh I think she's like maybe 5'8", 5'9", but she definitely, and maybe because she's also in a lot of shows where she's sort of like the friend of a lead who's much shorter than her.
mm.
Hmm.
So to me, in my memory, she always seems taller. Antoinette Robinson. You will probably not recognize that name, but you may know her as uh if any of you watched the TV version of Dear White People, she was Coco.
Okay. Yeah.
She was also, if you watched the Canadian show Digstown, she was Vivian Jefferson, but probably Andrew, you'd know her. She was
Yeah.
Lisa in The Blackening.
Yeah. She was in the
Mm.
black. And I also
Yeah,
did catch Digstown as well.
yeah,
She was a right evil person in Digstown. She was a villain in Digstown. Yeah.
yeah. But I feel like she has what you need also like that gravitas, like that kind of that storm leader energy. So while she hasn't gotten to play a lot of kind of purely kind of nice leader characters,
Mhm.
she definitely has that gravitas. She does have kind of that statuesque build and a dark-skinned woman of color. Like,
And she's a
let's do it.
stunner. Like she walks
Oh my
into a
God,
room,
she's
you're gonna think
beautiful.
goddess. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Definitely.
Yeah. Don't let either by Matthews tell her she's not a goddess.
That's right.
Yeah.
um. Yeah. Again, we're in a situation where I like your picks way better than mine.
Stop judging your own picks,
I
man.
have to.
Be
You don't
secure in
understand
your
how stressful
picks.
this was. When I
It
was
was stressful though, yeah.
It's very stressful.
so when I hear a pick and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have thought that was so good. That's so good. I have to call it out. Um, but no, I think where I dropped the ball was not going dark enough, and I went with Nicole Bahari from like she's in
I love her.
the
Yeah,
morning
no.
show right now, but the
Yeah.
first time I saw her was in the Sleepy Hollow show, which I feel like I stopped watching when she wasn't on it anymore, so I don't know how that show ends. But I was just like, yeah, this person, put her in more. I know she also did Shame with Michael Fassbender, but
Those socks. Good
yeah.
Lord.
But yeah, I
It's
I
also to
find her
give
to be a
people
very
behind the
strong
scenes on this. Every time they mention somebody's name, I have to look it up and see the person. I'm like, oh, it's that person every time. There we go.
Yeah, I I wish that I was more visually inclined to be like, and this is the picture, this is the picture. But
It's okay.
I saw you looking it up, and I'm like, good, he'll
Yeah.
get the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ooh.
So yeah, that's my storm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
no,
stuff.
she's like in terms of again that gravitas, there were a lot of clips of she has a moment with I think Holland Taylor's
Hmm.
character in Morning Show. Yeah, like that scene alone, 100% I could see it.
That is probably what was pulling me in that direction because I didn't have anyone, and then I put her.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. So this is my last card before we go to the others. Um Jean Grey, another tough one.
Jean
It is
Grey.
tough.
Ooh,
See, generally Jean Grey would be tough,
yeah.
but because I do Geek Card, I get to meet a lot of people.
Hmm.
And there's one particular redhead who I've talked to a number of times recently she's become a comic creator, but she's also an actor. She's appeared on she had a prominent role in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm and an episode of Ghosts and stuff like that. And the comic book that she did, Rogues Gallery, is being developed into a TV show that she's spearheading. And I'm pretty sure that if they actually do go through with it, they're casting her in the main role. And that is Hannah Rose May.
Okay.
If you give up a look up of her, she's got the looks for it, and from what I've seen of her acting, I think she's got the chops for it. And on top of that, she's probably one of the biggest fucking nerds I've ever talked to. So she would understand the gravitas and importance of getting that character across.
Okay, I have seen her and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, you said Ghosts. I was like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, the show I watch all the time.
Yeah, the house where they have the ghosts. Yeah.
I thought you said Ghost, and I was just like, yeah, is that a show? And then look at like, right, Ghosts, the show that I literally have watched every episode of.
Well, my pick, and again, I struggle with this, and part of me just wanted to say, let's give Sophie Turner another go, because Lord knows she deserves it. And with everything she's been through in her real life, I imagine she'd bring a lot of different energy to it now.
Definitely.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they were considering her anyway, even if they didn't bring in any of the rest of the cast from that film. I did go for somebody different. She's not that much younger. I don't know, she may be older than Sophie Turner, but did you guys all watch Andor?
I did.
I did not, unfortunately. I only watched the first 4 episodes.
So you would have seen her though. So
Okay.
she was Faye Marseille. So Mon Mothma, we find out later, like she's Mon's younger sister, but she's sort of part of the crew that's doing the bank job basically. And so and I don't know if she is actually a redhead or just she is sometimes, but when I looked her up, there are a lot of pictures of her with red hair. So Faye, Faye, Marseille, Marsay. And just, I think, especially the kind of the dual personality that we see in Andor, where when she's in society with her sister near the end of the show, she's giving a very different energy. So we could get that Goblin Queen, Jean vibes from this one actor.
Okay.
I like that.
And again, she's already under the Disney monopoly, so
It's true.
Yeah.
She's already been
They got
chipped.
their hooks
Yeah.
in her.
There you go.
I went with Haley Bennett, she's like I feel like she was in the first Equalizer. She was in the Denzel Washington Magnificent Seven. She was in that movie Swallow, where she swallows things.
That's a clever name.
I say that because I thought the movie was going to be something completely different, and when it ended, I was like, "Oh, it seems like this was the beginning of the movie." I don't know why we're done now.
I think she was also in that hardcore movie. It was called
Hardcore Henry.
Hardcore Henry.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like she's a solid actor that doesn't usually get a chance to be the lead other than in Swallow. And I've seen her with red hair. And it made sense age-wise with my Cyclops.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm out of cards. So Meister,
All right.
I guess we can just go through the rest in your order of your sheet.
Yeah, we can do that. So the next person we haven't done yet is Sunspot, which I have to admit, this is where I dug my feet in to be like, has to be dark enough.
Okay, well, I hope my pick was dark enough for you.
No, that's your pick. I don't put anything on anyone else's pick.
I went with Jaden Michael, who I saw in Vampires versus the Bronx. He is both black and Latino, and I thought he's the age appropriate. I think he's 20, and so I thought that worked well. If we were going with the X-Men 97 type feel, that worked well with the age range of Jubilee. And again, I thought he did a good job, and yeah, I think he'd be perfect for it.
You got yes. I feel like that works age wise. This was a character I had to stretch a lot of stuff for.
Yeah,
Uh,
I also had the requirement for myself that I needed like an Afro Latino. I needed um a certain kind of vibe. I went for somebody who's already done a character in a show that was based off one of my favorite comic books, Runaways. Uh,
oh,
Alex Wilder, Renzi Felice.
Mm.
Yeah. And he hasn't done a lot of live action, even though again he's under the Disney family stuff, including the voice of the shapeshifter brother
in Encanto.
in Kanto. So he has a couple of the best bars in We Don't Talk About Bruno.
Yep.
And yeah, he hasn't done a lot. I mean, the last time I saw him was in some YouTube stuff of the live action Encanto at the Hollywood Bowl, I think maybe. I don't know. So, I mean, he's still working, I'm sure, but yeah, he's still young enough. He's not as young as he was when Runaways came out, but I think he could still do it.
You guys have great picks. I I had Sunspot on here because I feel like a big thing for Sunspot is the issue that comes with obviously being a mutant, but also being Afro Latino, but visibly African, so darker skinned to the point of not being accepted, even if he wasn't a mutant, which meant it was very hard to find someone with the skin tone I was looking for that fits the age range that you guys nailed.
Mm.
Um, and I went with, I don't know how to pronounce it actually, Ilan Noel. I feel like most people know him as Daniel from Insecure, and then he did another
Oh,
movie with Issa Rae. Um, but I think he's Panamanian. Uh, um, but more importantly, dark to the point of there's no ambiguity there that he would be not accepted, and obviously he's in his 30s. So I was like, maybe if they were doing this in the movie, he would just be a new mutant, not the youngest mutant or anything,
Yeah,
just a
that's
new
fair.
mutant trying to sort things out. Um, but yeah, that was my thing. I had a axe to grind with Sunspot, so I had to kind of
I feel
move
you.
things around.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair, man.
Um, next is Nightcrawler. Any takers on Nightcrawler?
So this is the third person that I wasn't able to cast because I was very much like, oh man, German actors in their mid 20s. Couldn't find one that really fit like the Nightcrawler look and feel. I was like, this is one that I could really see them going casting for, that they'd actually be doing a search for. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I didn't come up with. So I'd want them to go with an unknown for this one.
That's fair.
I think I only got this one today after trying and giving up. I almost couldn't. And I think that the specter of Alan Cummings kind of as well,
Mm-hmm.
just being so fantastic. However, a last minute, just really at this point, it was sort of a mix of streaming surfing and then YouTube jump or like IMDb link hopping. And then I was like, how did I not? How is this not my number one? Joey Beatty, you may know him as Yaskier. Toss a coin to your Witcher. Like, yeah, yeah. I was obsessed with that song from like the first season of The Witcher. He's got like the, jocular yet could drop some bars and make you feel some type of way vibes. Not German, but I feel like that's the vibe I would want from my Nightcrawler, especially
Mm.
after X-Men 97 did such a great job in the back half of the season. Like, God, don't let that man talk at my funeral. I'll
Yeah,
rise up just to cry and die again.
yeah.
Yeah.
They nailed it in
The
X Men
cards,
'97.
they are wild.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
I did have someone else at first, but then I was like, I guess they were technically already in a Marvel movie, which was Bill Skarsgård. Or is it Skarsgård or Skarsgård? I never remember how
It's
to pronounce
Skarsgård, I
those
think.
guys.
Yeah.
But I ended up going with Robert Sheehan from most recently Umbrella Academy. He
Yes.
seems like he's got the like lanky look. like Alan Cummings, I know two separate countries, but
Mhm.
same part of the world. Maybe he could get into the German accent realm. Um, but yeah, I think the first time I saw him was Misfits, and I really liked him there. And I feel like he's got a Nightcrawler vibe in Umbrella Academy as well. But
Very much so.
that's that was my Nightcrawler,
There you
and that
go.
and again I made that change today because I was still like I'm just gonna stick with Bill, and I was like, no, you know what? Let's go with someone who's not already in here.
There we go.
Um, Bishop.
Bishop. Okay, so for my Bishop one, this was another one that I was like, I wanted to age up a little bit, so put near the mid 30s. And I believe this is my only Canadian on the list. And that is actor Shamir Anderson, who people might remember from the first couple of seasons of Winona Earp.
Yeah.
And he's done a couple of like films for Netflix as well.
He
Yeah.
was just in John Wick 4, and
Oh,
he's my
all right. He
sister's
was in,
friend.
Mm.
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And he also is, I think he's one of the ones running that charity, the Black Academy for
Hmm.
Black filmmakers in Canada. Yeah.
Yes, I remember. I can say I remember him when he was a little whippersnapper in grade 9,
There you go.
and hanging out with my sister.
Cool. So
Uh,
yeah, I'd pick him for Bishop.
I like that pick, especially after I saw him in John Wick 4. I'm like, yeah, I could see him just going around and taking people out and doing his thing.
Yeah.
All right, for me, this was a tough one. My first pick, when I saw how old he was, although he definitely doesn't look his age, I was like, maybe not. So I'm gonna do two for this one. So my first pick is Manu Bennett, because in the
Mhm.
many versions of Bishop's
Yes.
backstory, sometimes he's black, sometimes he's got a little Filipino happening, sometimes he's like, black Aboriginal, like
Yeah.
Maori. So Manu Bennett, you may know him as your favorite largest orc in any Lord of the Rings. So you may not know his face, but you know his energy, and that is a great kind of vibe for it. But he's also in Spartacus. You get to see his face in Spartacus.
And he was
Yeah.
Deathstroke in the
Yeah.
Arrowverse, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So him,
Hmm.
if I want to go maybe closer to the age of all of the rest of the people I cast, Aaron Pierre.
Hey, guess what? That's my Bishop as well.
Awesome. Our first
Yeah.
overlap. Yeah. So I'll let you talk about Aaron Pierre then.
I know he's British, but I just feel like I haven't seen him actually be able to be British other than in the new Mufasa trailer. So I can't actually see his face when he's doing his British accent. But yeah, I think I was going more on this guy's a strong actor. I making that not on his movie Old, but his movie Brother that came out.
Fantastic,
Oh,
Yeah.
brother.
brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I just feel
That was
like
shot in Scarborough, right?
yeah,
Bro?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be about
Takes place in Scarborough. Yeah.
So like we got a win there of like it's taking place here and it's supposed to be here.
All I know is that my father watched that film and he was just like, when they climbed up the electrical towers,
mhm.
he saw me. He's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they're doing that." That's
Yeah, no, I was
whoa.
like that too. I was like, get down,
It's
stop it, stop doing that. Yeah, I really I like his look, and I like you. I was like, I feel like everyone just goes along with Bishop being black, but when I looked it up, I saw more the Aborigine aspect.
Mhm.
But I was like, for my age group, I feel like Aaron Pierre works. He's got the build, and he was supposed to be on Blade, but he left Blade. So I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
bring him
Come
on
on
in here.
back. Yeah.
Cable is next.
okay, so for Cable, because again, like as most of the people, I was trying to do this whole age range thing, trying to think about longevity, thinking about all that sort of stuff. Cable, because he is supposed to be an older character, I thought this is where you do like the true like fan casting for people who are big nerds. Put in an actor that pops up in a lot of shit that they would have watched.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went with Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Okay.
No.
That
Oh,
is a
you
great.
went like older.
Yeah. Well, because
Yeah.
Cable's supposed to be old as shit. That's the
Mm.
thing. So
That's a great pick.
And actually, when I was thinking of daddies, I kind of forgot him. because he is
He's
sort of that
definitely
other
daddy.
daddy.
How
Yeah.
dare
Yeah.
you? How dare you?
I know. I just watched The Boys. I don't know how I didn't think about it.
Petula?
For me, and this one was definitely one that was born out of my uh his parents are a version of Gene and Scott,
Mm-hmm.
and similar to Andrew's logic of maybe somebody who's maybe a little more known because cable literally kind of pops in and out of our timeline. Alan Richardson, Reacher, who's
Really?
I'd always
literally
want him
kind
to
of like
be a
a
hero, like
bigger
a superhero.
version of
Yeah.
Alexander Ludwig. They were both in Hunger Games, both kind of like District 1, 2 kind of body type.
I feel like every year he keeps getting bigger, like
Yeah.
physically.
Yes.
His shoulders just keep getting wider.
I don't know why I didn't think of him. Those are two great picks there. Um, yeah, I went with Timothy Oliphant because I feel like he
Oh,
looks like Glenn
yes.
Powell. I wasn't really thinking about the gene of it. I was just like, who's
And another
like
great,
both of you, like who is somebody that's like been in nerdy things?
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Obviously he doesn't have the
fantastic.
build, but I feel like Josh Brolin didn't really have the build either, so things can be done there.
There you go.
Um, but yeah, I felt pretty strong about Timothy Oliphant.
No, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. And he's another guy that also is getting up there in age, so
Mm-hmm.
it works.
Forge.
Okay, so with Forge in the comics, he was a bit more age appropriate to like a Storm. But in the
Yeah.
TV show, like in the cartoon, because of the original use of him in Days of Future Past and everything like that, they kind of aged him up on the show. So I picture somebody a little bit older for this role. And so I was wrong. My second Canadian, I went with the obvious Canadian Adam Beach.
Okay.
Oh,
Funnily enough, someone I didn't consider, even though I love Adam Beach.
Because
I
also
love
another
Adam
thing,
Beach.
I feel like Beach got done dirty with the first
Yes.
Suicide Squad movie, so
Yeah.
I'd like to see him involved in a superhero project where he gets to stick around.
And isn't assaulting women for no real good
Yeah,
reason.
exactly.
In a
Exactly.
movie where people are bad guys, it's like, well, you don't have to lay it on that thick with him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, we already get it. Yeah, they're bad guys. Just
Yeah,
make them steal
yeah.
stuff.
Exactly. So I thought him for Forge.
See, I went a little bit older as well, also Canadian, but somebody who maybe isn't already as well known as Adam Beach, Brandon Oakes.
Okay.
You may know him from, or you may not know him from Anne with an E. Also was in Digstown.
I gotta
He was
look this
Doug
guy
Paul in
up.
Digstown, and he was in Blood Quantum as Bumper. So yeah, definitely when it came to the cast of Forge, like I went straight to Blood Quantum and then backed out and then just sort of looked around at other things and then kept coming back to it for some reason. It was just something about, and there was like, I forget, it was an episode of Digstown, I think, where they were sort of interrogating the law that allowed the government to take uh indigenous children like away from their parents for like the smallest infraction, and they had to like really fight to get them back. So anyway, he was great on that show, but also occasionally was doing kind of morally problematic things in that he had to like often debate sacrificing a client for like the greater opportunity to challenge the law. And we know Forge is a mess. So
Mm.
yeah.
I like, yeah, I don't really know Brandon Oaks,
Although
but his look, I'm like, yeah, I like this for Forge.
yeah, although, and I think I don't even know if he's that much older. My first thought originally was Michael Gray Eyes, but I think he may be like just a scotch too old, but I'm not sure. He may even be around the same age. But yeah, so I went with Brandon Oaks just because like I feel like he should be a bit more known than he is.
Oh yeah.
I like that. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that my Forge. Yes, okay, good. Um, I picked Tatanka Means, who was in Killers of the Flower Moon most recently. He plays like the
Yep.
undercover cop that comes in and made me be like, "Hey, man, who's this guy? Like, let's see more of him." He is the same age as my Storm, so I didn't age him up. I mean, he's they're older in my cast, but not by much, like 3 or 4 years.
Mm.
But yeah, he was just someone that like instantly popped for me. And while I wanted to go with a bunch of people I'd seen in Reservation Dogs, a
Yeah.
lot of them are already in some form of an MCU project. So I had to just be like, all right, who's someone else that has popped for me recently? And I went with
Well,
the companies.
especially since a lot of them ended up in Echo as
Yeah,
well.
that was the
They
thing. I was just
both
like,
shot
oh,
in
yeah, oh,
Oklahoma.
oh.
It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Zane, you're done. You're
Yeah,
cooked. We can't
pretty
put you in another one.
much.
So yeah, that was my forge.
There you go.
Beast.
Okay, so this one I gotta admit, I went a little outside the past. I've never seen him. I've seen him play an intellectual before, but I think one thing that the movies never got quite right that the comics had is that, and even the TV show, because the TV show went very like erudite, very like
Mhm.
smart, everything like that. In the comics, he's kind of both extremely smart, but then there's a goofiness to him as well. He's very much likes to have fun,
Mhm.
sort of thing. And I've decided to go with this guy. I'm not sure 100% how I feel. And again, it's the idea of him before he turns. Like you can make anybody, once you make a beast, you can use
Yeah.
mocap and everything like that. Uh Asa Butterfield. I think that's
Oh,
how you
okay.
say his name. Or Asa Butterfield.
The guy
Okay.
who was supposed to be Spider-Man until he got aggro with a bunch of people online.
Oh, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, he got Spider-Man before.
Tom
Pretty
Holland?
sure it was before Tom Holland. And
Yeah.
then people were like, "This sucks," and he just let off on a bunch of people online, and they're like, "Okay, so not Spider-Man."
Ah, so he had a bad day.
No, I'm not saying don't like, because I like him. I like him in
Sex education?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I am all for getting him back back in the fold. This was certainly not me being like, "Hey, keep him out of here." Man, I'm really bad at typing with one hand.
So I went a little older, and definitely this is probably more of a divergence in terms of expectations, but there's just something just made me want to see this. And if I think of him as more kind of contemporary but younger than our my M&Ms, my Matthews, um, and sort of around my Gene and Scott range. And to your point, I want that erudite vibes when he's, not blue yet. Dev Patel.
Hey,
That
I am
Patel.
all in for getting Dev Patel to finally commit one
Yeah.
of these. I love that. Yeah. Another skins person, so good.
Yeah.
Let them have a reunion.
Yeah. Canadians and skins.
Yeah.
And yeah.
There you go.
So yeah, this is where I had Coleman Domingo at first, because I was only thinking about the voice. I was just like, I really like him as a voice, and I was just like, I would only have it as voice only. You could put whatever picture you want up ahead of time, like as who he was before he turned blue. But I was like, for the voice. But then I saw he got cast as Green Goblin as a voice, so I moved him to a visible, like on screen role. And still thinking of kind of being, I'm sure this person is older, but still more of a colleague with X and Magneto. I went older with this, and again, just for the voice, Dennis Haysbert, the That's All State Stand guy.
Yeah.
I feel like he's not as fun as Coleman Domingo can be, but he sounds like Beast to me. So that's, unfortunately, looking at his picture won't help. You're gonna have to look up an Allstate commercial to hear. He's
like,
in Jarhead, and he has
yeah.
my favorite moment in Jarhead where they're like getting antsy about shooting, and he's like, "No, watch this; it'll fucking blow your mind." And they just shoot rocket launchers instead of letting the snipers take shots.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
And
Wasn't
Now
he
I know.
the original
Yeah.
president in 24?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
now I
he-
know exactly who you're talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
and he played Captain Holt's brother on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes.
So you can do funny stuff, even though he's being very straight man there.
Years ago, in a fan casting that James Green did for Geekard's website, he picked him for Martian Manhunter.
That's a great
Oh,
Martian
yeah.
Manhunter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
We did it, guys.
we
we
did it.
did it.
That was so much harder. When you first said, I was like, "Oh, this will be cake." I've done this in my head a million times, and then, whoo, child, the ghetto. This is a lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
It
it's
was-
hilarious. Whereas I was like, I never do this. I never pick the people who should play that.
Yeah, I thought it would just be something fun to do. I mean, whoever they pick, I feel like when it comes to the MCU in particular, whenever they're casting, I'm always excited when it's someone I didn't think of and they end up being great, or at least fitting what they wanted them to do. And I feel like that's been the case for pretty much everyone.
yeah.
This was not
I
to be like,
mean-
this is who they have to cast or else. It was just a fun little thought
Yeah,
experiment.
it's like, here's some ideas.
Definitely made me respect the job of casting director even more than I
Mhm.
already did.
Mhm.
Especially on top of you come up with a good idea, then you have to go on a deep dive into their entire life and family and everything else to avoid. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Disney's had a couple of oopsies, but DC's had way more. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is not an easy job. So if any casting directors do stumble across this episode, feel free to take any or all of my suggestions. I won't speak for you, gentlemen, because your job is hard enough already. So yeah, if
And
we
you
could
two
help any
actually
of you at
looked
all.
up the
Yeah, there we
backgrounds, and
go.
I was just like, no, I like this person.
Yeah.
Other than Trevante Rhodes, I think that's who I had as Bishop at first, and
Oh
then
yeah. Yeah.
heard some rumblings about him
Yeah,
during
no,
the
I'm
Jonathan
not.
Major stuff, and I was like, oh, never mind then. Okay.
Yeah, he seemed iffy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So of all of your picks, who was like your favorite? Who's like or your easiest one that you're like, yeah, for sure. And if this actually happens, I would actually be kind of thrilled.
Hmm.
Well, for me, Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah.
That's
I
a great
immediately
one,
picked
yeah.
for Cable. Yeah.
That is a great one.
How about yourself, Petula?
I'm gonna say, although it took me forever, I kind of like my Matthews for my Magneto Professor X. Just more because like their vibe with each other. And again, listener, just Google wine show Matthew Good Reese, and you will have like the best time. They talk about champagne, they call it a glass of giggles.
There you go.
It's just so charming. Yeah.
Ooh. How about
Yeah.
you, Daniel?
I don't know. I really liked my Gambit pick, if I'm being honest. I thought like that's a nice one, but yeah, I would say that or my Professor X and Magneto pairing were ones I was particularly proud of.
There you go. Pretty good.
Well, if any of us are right, I guess we can maybe spring for the three of us to go see the movie.
Mm-hmm. With a
Oh,
glass
There
of
we
giggles.
go.
Yeah, with a
Yeah,
glass
yeah.
of giggles.
With the glass
Yeah.
of giggles right there.
Do you guys have anything you would like to promote? Andrew, you can go first on your socials or anything like that.
Well, for both me and Petula, there's this show we do called Back Issue Bloodbath. It's available on Wednesdays at geekartshow.com and on all podcasting platforms where we talk about comics old and new.
Excellent. Excellent, Petula.
And for me, for the first time in about 4 years, I posted an episode for my original podcast, inatiff.com, and about just the process, the grueling process of wrangling through the tiff.net website in advance of this year's Toronto International Film Festival, which I will be attending in person despite my fear of people, crowds, and being outside. So that should be
I think
fun.
you're going to be fine. I can't wait to see you there.
Yeah.
I, of course, will also be covering TIFF for my main show, Geek Card, which airs Friday nights at 7 on realityradio101.com. It's also available on all podcasting platforms and at geekcardshow.com. We're going to be doing throughout, you guys can go look back at it if this is coming out in October. Go and look back at it. Got a good 3 weeks of TIFF coverage, possibly if she says yes, which I'm pretty sure she already has said yes. Petula might be appearing on the wrap-up show of.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Yeah, I can't take vacation time and spend all that money and not leverage it to
Yeah,
talk about it.
Talk about
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'll have links to your guys' personal social media just in case people were like, I really love that voice. I want to see more of that.
You're gonna get a lot of "I really love that voice," but not for me.
I mean, yours is
I feel
anybody
like
who
we've all got some great voices here. You can't.
No, I'm
That's
just saying
undeniable.
though, based on like I
anybody who
have
loves Jake Johnson loves your
true.
voice.
You're
There
right.
we
You're
go.
right on that. But I'm
There
just
we go.
saying, a number of years having Petula on Geek Hard and the amount of
Oh.
emails we get in, there's a
is.
certain voice here that's probably gonna do much better than others. So
It's a great voice to just
Great
be able
voice.
to listen to. Well, yeah, thank you very much, guys, for being here. I truly appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. But I guess it's time to wind things down and say thank you very much to the listeners for tuning in and listening. If you want to hear older episodes, then please go on any podcast platform of your choice. And you can go to tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten to get in touch with us as well. We are at tdfspoiled on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. And our email is spoiledpodcast@gmail.com. So you've got options. All right. Thank you very
Alrighty.
much.
thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.